Hello and welcome to Exploring Jeeps. Today I have another question for you. See if you can look at the Jeep and tell me what I've done to it. This one was a lot easier than the previous one where I asked you to tell me the difference between 32 and 33 inch tires, which are pretty hard to see. This one's pretty obvious though, that we put a new roof rack onto the Jeep. It's a Teraflex Nebo, cost about $500. Went on pretty easily. They have some great online tutorials that show you how to do it on YouTube, and it really not too much to say about it other than it's very strong, very beefy, and putting it together took a long time. Probably took a full weekend to do it. You kind of start out, you take the top off, and you cut out these templates. This took me about an hour to cut out all of these templates. I used an X-Acto knife instead of the scissors that they used. I found the scissors just were too big and got in the way with these really long pieces of paper. The X-Acto knife let me cut everything out and be very precise with it. They recommend the use of these brad tip bits when you're drilling through the top. I would also recommend them. They did provide a much cleaner cut than the regular. I used one brad tip and I used the other regular, made a big difference. Here's another thing. When they in the video they put the GPS unit back in, but they forgot to put in the little bracket in the bottom, and because of that, it would move around and I'm sure it would rattle and you'd probably hear it. So I ended up taking it back off and then putting it back on here, and it really didn't get in the way. There's no reason why they didn't do it. Just they left it out of the video. I think it's in the instruction manual. So there's a number of different plates. The plate that I have here is the actual bracket that comes with the Jeep, and to my left I have the bracket that came from Teraflex. And I'm relocating the GPS on a little, it's kind of a bar. And one of the problems is that there's a bolt that goes underneath the GPS once you relocate it. What I noticed was that the nut that's in there is a kind of a lock nut, and it allows you to pivot it, but still it still remains very tight. So you don't have to worry about it coming loose, through vibration or anything. It's never going to move. From its location, but you can see there's a nut that goes underneath it, and if you tighten it down too much, you won't be able to change it. And to get in there with a box wrench is going to be very, very difficult. So just tighten it up enough so you can move it with some a fair amount of pressure, and then you can just pivot it out of the way, put the nut in, and then tighten it down, and then pivot it back, and everything should work fine. No rattles. And everything will go together after that. So you do have to cut into your cushioning around the roll cage, the bars. It's not a big deal. It's actually very, very simple, and everything goes together in a pretty good way. The directions are good, like I said. One of the problems I found was the printed directions were not that good. The online directions had a higher resolution than the printed ones, and it's very important to take a look at the online ones and lay out on a table all of the different parts and which side of the Jeep they're going to go on, and things will go together much easier. But it's a pretty simple install. It did take me a long time, and it's a lot of work up on top of the Jeep. And it wasn't easy, and you definitely need two people to be putting the top on and off, taking the top off and putting it on. But other than that, it went together pretty well. There were some adjustment issues at the end. I didn't film those because I was kind of in I need to get this done mode. Took me the better part of a weekend to do all of this work because I was doing it all by myself, and I take my time and try and do things. This part here is the only part where I actually was difficult. There's a little foam piece and a plastic guard that goes around there, and getting your hands in there to move it was painful. This was my setup. I put the top onto piano dollies to work on it, to drill the holes and put the template in. Underneath that, I have a headliner in there, and this was something I didn't find online anywhere or any mention of it, but you can use the piece that's going to go there as a template, and I used the same X-Acto knife and cut around it, and it worked out really pretty well. It's a very light foam, and it kind of stays together well enough that it doesn't cause any problems. So I just went in there, cut it, tried to clean it up as best I could, and made sure that there weren't any fibers or any pieces of the roof material between the plastic piece that I'm putting on and the hard top itself. Clean out any little pieces of fiberglass. You can see some pieces that just fell there. You want it to be as clean as possible so that there aren't any gaps or debris in there that could cause a leak later on. There's a big there's a little edge there, and you put a rubber piece on top of that, which gets sandwiched between the top and this plastic piece as an O-ring. Then there are O-rings that go on top of these bolts that are coming through, and it all goes together pretty well. Little adjustment issues with the track. Don't tighten everything up until you got it just the way you want it, and then start tightening things down. But it looks pretty good. It looks very kind of OEM. I don't think people who are really familiar with Jeeps would know that this was not part of the actual Jeep itself. Teraflex does provide these big badging for it, but I didn't put those on. But it looks pretty good, and we've used it on the highway, no leaks, and it's quiet in this way. If you put crossbars on it, it's a little bit louder. We put a big box up there, like a roof, a Yakima box, and that worked out great too. Gave us a lot more storage capacity for trips and things. So thanks for watching.